It's time for Agriculture, presented by Turkana Farms in Germantown, New York, a small-scale producer of heritage breed livestock and a wide array of vegetables and berries on just over 39 acres. They also produce a full array of garden vegetables, many of them heirloom varieties raised naturally, as well as an assortment of berries, including raspberries, blackberries, gooseberries, black, red, and white currants, mulberries, and elderberries. And now, here's Mark Scherzer.
Over the last several days, the weather forecasts made apparent that a really significant freeze, one where the air temperatures would go way under the freezing mark and we were at risk for accumulating snow, was imminent. Just like the polls, as they get closer to Election Day, forecasts a day or two out get more and more reliable, and those forecasts give you an opportunity to protect yourself from the likely results of the predicted event. The predicted cold and snow coincided almost perfectly with the end of October, which is when we always in the past started the transition from pasture to hay for the sheep. Assuming things would proceed as they always had, I called the supplier who generally delivered hay to us through past seasons to arrange delivery of 4 big 800-pound bales. To my dismay, this year, they told me, they could just give me a little, and the 4 bales is probably all I'll get from them for the season. I called the next person in my mental inventory of hay suppliers and found that he could also only give me a little more. Thankfully, our layer of snow was less than an inch here in Germantown and was gone in a matter of hours, so the sheep can still graze and I have a little window of opportunity to locate and stockpile a bigger hay supply. But it was a valuable lesson in not assuming that things will always be as they always have been. Those who are analyzing all the early voting for signs of who is going to win this year's presidential election, as if past patterns dictate present events, should take note. My next concern after hay was for everything growing in the garden that might suffer from a plunge in the temperatures. I knew that winter brassicas, the kale, collard greens, and Brussels sprouts, could withstand a night in the 20s. But I was concerned about other cool weather plants. So over the last few days, I took extra time before and after chores and at lunchtime to haul in crates of other produce: daikon radish, black radish, turnips, sorrel, Swiss chard, and escarole. I always prefer to harvest such items only when I have orders for them, but sometimes if you don't take something when you have the opportunity, it won't be there anymore when you need it. I liken this to the encouragement of people to vote early as a means to bank votes to protect against any events on Election Day itself, be it bad weather or the appearance of vote-suppressing militias that might depress participation. Apparently, tens of millions of Americans agree with this instinct. Once you've got all the produce in, that's when a whole new challenge begins. You may have enjoyed a lovely cocktail hour at the end of your day Friday, or perhaps you had dinner with the co-inhabitants of your COVID-19 pod. Good for you. I, like so many of the anonymous public officials who will deal with the harvest of votes on Election Day, hunkered down for an evening of processing. For me, this meant cutting off the radish greens and some of the yellowed outer escarole leaves, weeding out the leathery older chard leaves, and giving all of those to the chickens, which they've already devoured. It meant washing everything and sorting each product by size and saleability, with the hollowed-out turnips, the misshapen and badly split or overgrown radishes, and the escarole roots destined for the pigs. It meant weighing everything and posting the quantities for sale on the Farms to Tables app, which I guess is the farm equivalent of posting the vote totals on a big board on election night. By shortly before midnight on Friday, my kitchen and mudroom were a chaotic mess of muddy countertops, bags full of leaves, and crates of discarded turnips and radishes, while the farm refrigerators were fairly neatly organized with stacked and or bagged produce, all accounted for. Feeling I could leave cleanup for the morning, I called it a night. I can only hope for a similar result on election night, which may give us a clear and final result by midnight or 1 a.m. Because if it all comes down to an uncertain result in Pennsylvania, with the count dragging on for days and Judge Amy Coney Barrett stepping in to install the man who installed her, I don't know if I can bear it. Whether I prepared myself adequately for the election results is a big question. I have, based on my careful daily reading of the polls, already purchased and started chilling a bottle of champagne. The additional cost added to that bottle by President Trump's tariffs, which he had assured us the French would pay for, is one I was willing to bear for this occasion. But what if the result calls for Percocet rather than champagne? Can somebody please lend me some? Or even worse, if there's no clear result, and disputes over who won plunge us into civil strife or civil war in the midst of a pandemic. Well, I guess in that event, I'm prepared to subsist on a diet of radishes and turnips through a long, dark winter. Do me a favor. Save me from this fate. Turn up and vote.
Agriculture is underwritten by Turkana Farms, LLC, a small-scale producer of heritage-bred livestock and a wide array of vegetables and berries on just over 39 acres in Germantown, New York. More information, 518-537-3815.